Hi, I'm Ed Nodlin, co-founder of Jetstream Innovations, the maker of GapCross. Today I'm talking about cannabis compliance. Looking back on my life and endeavors, I see a pattern. I'm passionate about doing things right, doing things according to a standard process, and continuously changing processes to improve effectiveness, efficiency, and reliability. I encourage creative innovation, eliminating work that is no longer necessary, learning from mistakes, and focusing on long-term collective sustainability and happiness. These are ingredients that go into GapCross. In this video, I will tell you how to boost client engagement following 3 key principles. A consultant from the GMP Collective recently told me, "It's disheartening to see my clients struggle to retain the knowledge and build upon the improvements we've worked so hard on together once I'm no longer actively involved." I often hear comments like this, and not just from consultants. Internal consultants, such as compliance director or manager, often shares the same sentiment and faces the challenges of getting others to embrace compliance and other quality principles and practices. Here is a typical example. Jason, a consultant, worked with a client I'll refer to as Terabud. Terabud's upper management contacted Jason to help Terabud's compliance director navigate the complex world of cannabis regulations across Terabud's 3 facilities. Over 9 months, Jason and the director worked to address the compliance issues, implement improvements. Jason performed assessments, provided training, attended management meetings, and worked closely with the director. When Jason's involvement ended, Terabud's commitment to compliance started to wane. But he would hear everything was going fine from upper management. 2 years later, Jason received a call from a distraught owner of Terabud. Production has stopped at one of their facilities due to surprise inspection, revealing multiple violations. The facility faced heavy fines and potential loss of its license, and the other 2 facilities were being carefully investigated. Jason learned the staff, although trained, needed a deeper commitment to compliance, and several staff members had little compliance training. He shared that he overestimated upper management's commitment to compliance, and the management had continued to focus on patching up daily issues rather than prioritizing and insisting on good daily compliance practices. Consultants and internal managers often wonder, how do I get lasting results? Traditionally, compliance consulting has been a process of providing expert advice and strategies to clients. What is often overlooked is inculcating, instilling, firmly establishing a deep understanding of why compliance is important. To transfer this deep understanding of why to others, 3 fundamental principles must be established. 1, management ownership and commitment. For a successful compliance program, the organization's top management must develop a sense of ownership and commitment, and compliance must be aligned with company goals and daily activities. Without this, the legacy business as usual habits and practices and misaligned reward systems will undermine progress. Compliance is not something that instantly solves today's problems. Compliance is mostly doing things today to prevent problems, health or safety issues from occurring in the future or downstream. Management must be educated to understand why daily compliance actions are needed and justified, or they won't believe in or support daily compliance activities long enough for the program to take root and grow under its own energy. Examples and success stories about other companies and industries can be helpful. 2, in-depth exposure. You've heard the adage, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Managers and staff need to learn how to do the work of compliance. They must learn how to recognize, identify, and address compliance issues. They must experience how and why their daily commitment to compliance and quality benefits the company's bottom line in the long run. Everyone has responsibilities for compliance. 3, critical mass. Although only some managers and employees need extensive knowledge and exposure, a critical number must learn and embrace the concepts and fundamental knowledge of compliance. Without a critical mass, only a few enlightened individuals will carry the torch but find themselves in a non-supportive environment. With a critical mass, synergistic energy grows, and ideas, knowledge, and improvements will spread down, across, and even up the organizational structure. Together, these three principles foster expectations from the top down and support across the organization. Like a three-legged stool, all three are required to hold up compliance. The traditional role of a consultant is to assess and understand an operation, provide expert advice and strategies, and leave the client to carry on, and occasionally provide follow-up support. An internal compliance manager or department has a similar but ongoing role. Both external and internal consultants face the same challenge. How do I encourage management and staff to seriously embrace good practices that lead to lasting compliance, quality, and safety? As an external or internal consultant, aim to teach your clients to fish rather than providing them with fish. The client will expect you to identify gaps, analyze causes, and recommend improvements. They often extend a contract to have an external consultant support internal implementation, and usually expect it from internal consultants and departments. This all adds up to providing fish. Here's what you need to do. First, you must make sure your client understands that success requires them to be able to identify and address compliance issues for themselves. As the consultant, you are not there to fix a few problems and leave. Compliance requires an ongoing effort on their part. Your role as a consultant is to support the efforts as they learn and develop compliance habits. Anytime the client asks you to do work for them, remind them that they must do the work. They are paying you to prepare them to continue the compliance efforts when you are not there. Set these expectations early and often. Second, the client must have hands-on and eyes-on experience. The best way to accomplish this is to have them regularly self-assess their compliance status. Your role as the consultant is similar to being a sports coach. The coach can't play the game, hit the baseball, or catch the football for the team. The team must do the work. It's the same with your clients. Here's how you get them to play the compliance game. Have them assess their compliance status without you. You need an excellent online assessment program covering all the necessary compliance criteria. It needs to provide direct access to the regulatory requirements so they don't waste time researching and sorting through pages of regulation. It should offer up tips that help them understand what is required, why it is required, and how to correct the issues found. Examples of what compliance look like are often helpful. GapCross allows internal and external consultants to collaborate with users who perform self-assessments. The client can answer the assessment questions, add comments about their findings, ask questions when they need advice, and attach essential documentation and photos for the consultant's review. Online remote work productivity tools have been around for about 2 decades and have been improving rapidly in the last few years. COVID has accelerated the acceptance of online and remote work tools. Many of your clients are probably not local. Having them perform self-assessment gives them the experience they need to learn and develop good habits to continue monitoring and identifying compliance gaps. After they work through an online assessment, you, the consultant, can review the assessment results, the attached standard operating procedures, photo evidence, and the client's comments and questions. A consultant told me, by having my client perform a self-assessment, it became obvious that they gain much more than when I conduct an audit and provide a report for them to read, if they even read it at all. That last part really stuck with me. We could say you can provide the manager a report, but you can't make them read it. Reading a report is less engaging and rewarding than performing the assessment with your own hands and eyes. Seeing is believing. You can't learn to swim by reading a book about swimming. You have to get into the water. A self-assessment is self-paced. An on-site assessment by a consultant presents tension, with clients scrambling to provide documents, records, and access to facilities and equipment. This tension can prevent them from engaging with the criteria they need to learn. Remote self-assessments allow clients to work independently at their own pace and to explore and absorb the information they need to know. As the consultant, when you review the findings, the assessment program should allow you to add responses and request additional information needed to verify compliance. After your review, it's time to connect on an audio meeting. Here's another quote from the GMP Collective. Since my client is now familiar with the requirements through the self-assessment, I have less explaining and clarification to do. Review meetings are much faster. Your clients won't be wasting their time and yours asking simple basic questions. The client earns the results. This engagement fosters ownership and responsibility for their own results and success. The probability of ongoing gains increases dramatically. Finally, the third key principle, critical mass. I'm reminded of a story that goes back to my Boeing Commercial Aircraft Company career. I was the system manager of the Structural Test Lab Master Computing System when Boeing began an initiative to implement continuous quality improvement. The plan was to send a few employees from each organization to a 2-day quality team member class. The lab had about 150 employees, including the managers. Each month, 2 or 3 supervisors or lead engineers would return after the 2-day course. They returned enthused and excited to implement the quality practices they had learned. I attended the course in the 8th month and caught the quality bug like the others. I talked to others who had yet to go to the course, and they were tired of hearing about quality and saw it as another fad program promising to save the world. What surprised me was a similar response from the others that had taken the class and were initially so excited. I wondered what had happened. I learned that they, including my boss, became disenfranchised and lost all their excitement when faced with the negative chatter and non-supportive actions of the others, including fellow managers that had the initial excitement. They also concluded this was a flash-in-the-pants program going nowhere and would be a waste of their time to engage with. They had seen other programs wane, fizzle, and vanish. I thought if we could get everyone excited about this at the same time, we would create the synergy required to make change happen. I sketched out an outline for an 8-hour training session presented in 2 4-hour sessions 1 week apart, with 4 groups of 24 employees completing the training in 2 weeks. 96 people would be exposed to the concepts in 2 weeks, and the rest within the month. When I showed the plan to my boss, he stood up and said, "Come with me." We walked across the bay to Mr. Helling's office, the chief engineer of the lab at that time, to present the plan. It was 1 week before Christmas break. He said, "Can you have a detailed training plan ready for me on January 4th? I did, and it worked. The lab became an example of quality. I was invited to attend the weekly lab managers meeting to facilitate quality and process thinking, and later I became the instructor of a 5-day team leader class, facilitated the weekly meetings of the vice president of the engineering division, and became the manager of the engineering division Center for Process Learning. That was several decades ago. Today there are so many more efficient online tools and information available to create a critical mass of compliance evangelists. Using self-assessments for training is interactive, engaging, hands-on, and right there in the workplace. It's not sitting in a classroom or looking at a computer screen. For all the same reasons already expressed, an employee who performs a compliance assessment gets to see firsthand how the company's compliance stacks up and how they fit in. They will be exposed to compliance requirements. Their curiosity will take them into the reference links, exposing them to requirements they never knew existed. They will talk with other employees to compare assessment results and scores and gain a sense of ownership for correcting non-conforming conditions. The only thing management has to do is make sure the employees have a little time, stay out of the way, and align the subtle daily reward systems with the goal of compliance and quality practices. As the consultant, you can still do your own assessment to discover missed gaps to inform the client. To summarize, remote consulting using online collaborative assessments is a powerful tool for consultants and clients. It offers numerous benefits of increased client engagement, improved effectiveness, develops good habits, and is an efficient consulting methodology. By leveraging consulting knowledge using remote self-assessment tools, consultants empower clients to understand the regulatory and best practice requirements. Clients take ownership of their compliance, and it fosters collaborative and effective relationships between you and your clients. Remember, the goal is to teach your clients how to obtain and maintain long-term compliance rather than merely providing them with short-term compliance operations. Management commitment, in-depth exposure, and critical mass are fundamental for success. Learn about using customized self-assessments as an engaging training tool in my other videos on this topic. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more informative content. And leave a comment below if you have any questions or experiences with remote assessments as a consulting tool.